Richard Ward, Baker Hughes Vice President for Subsea Production Systems. Thank you for being with us today at our Egypt Oil and Gas Talk. Thank you so much for joining me, and welcome to Egypt. I know it's been 10 years since last you visited Egypt, and I hope you feel a change since then.
Absolutely. It's a privilege to be here, first of all, and a privilege to have a chat with yourself. And it's 10, 11 years since I've been in Egypt, and it's incredible to see the journey the country's been on, the development through infrastructure as well through the energy sector. It's very powerful.
Great, I'm happy to see that. And if you allow me, I would like to go straight ahead and talk about Baker Hughes and its investment and operation and activities here in Egypt.
Yeah.
Baker Hughes has been playing a very vital role in the industry in the past maybe decade, and especially in the past 10 years, we've seen Baker Hughes playing a very bigger role, specifically your success story with the Zoro operation. What can you tell us about that?
So, well, thanks. Baker Hughes actually has been here multiple decades through the journey of the energy development of Egypt. And I'd say over the last decade coming into it, as we see the emergence of gas in the economy, and especially now, of course, the criticality of gas being seen as really a transition fuel to a cleaner future for the world. The Zoro project was out there as a milestone for Egypt and for the industry really at the dawn. Baker Hughes was fortunate enough to be chosen to be the partner in that development from a subsea infrastructure standpoint. And we had the privilege of providing all of the hardware and equipment to allow for the safe and efficient production of that field, which is installed and now on production. And as you know, it provides 56% of the national production. So it's key, and it's been a great journey with our partners in Petrovel, with EGAS, as well as the supply chain behind us. So partners like Petrojet, right there with us working hard.
Excellent. And do you see your case study or your success story in Zoro, will that help in building other markets for Baker Hughes?
It will. Baker Hughes has a strong capability in gas developments around the world, be it on the well construction side, be it in the infrastructure side, or as you move to midstream, downstream through a tremendous presence in LNG and on the compression side. So Zoro is one of those developments that's a pinnacle in the industry. I think a key though that we're learning as we go through is developing a strong local capability. So while we're a global company, building the national capability to deliver this world-class project is a key element to success.
Absolutely. And since you played a big role within Zoro, and you see right now Egypt with its sufficient gas reserves, especially after the Zoro discovery, do you see Egypt could play a vital role in becoming a natural gas hub for the region, Europe, and so on?
Yeah, it's a great question, Mohammed. I think Egypt is uniquely positioned to become an infrastructure hub for the European East Mediterranean region. It really has. From the upstream, midstream, downstream sectors, there's the infrastructure's in place, spare capacity inside that infrastructure. So as we look at the potential, from a subsurface standpoint for gas development, and then leveraging that existing infrastructure, tying in to other markets, I think positions Egypt uniquely. And actually, to that point, watching this and with our local team on the ground here, is Baker Hughes itself is now looking to develop a technical hub here in Egypt, specifically around gas. That talent and competence and capability will then export around the world to other projects that we have that are world class. So I think Egypt right now is on the cusp of really being able to develop this unique capability of being truly a gas technical center of excellence, but the key is the infrastructure hub, so you've got foundational capability.
I would like to focus on what you just mentioned about the technical hub that Baker Hughes is planning to here. And what is that hub? What markets will it serve? Is it mainly just Egypt, or will it serve the areas around you?
So of course, first and foremost, we're very excited with the journey that we see evolving and emerging here in Egypt. So key is to have differential leading capability in country, which we want to do. But as we see that, then even today, the capability and confidence that we're building from a technical standpoint, from an engineering standpoint, and through our supply chain will then apply around the world. So we have world-class projects in India and the Far East region, in Australia, West Africa, and we actually have local talent that's being developed on these projects, now going to these other countries, sharing that experience, building up that capability. So really, it's going to be twofold. One is to make sure that Egypt really continues its journey of emergence of being a real gas powerhouse. And I think that's critical, as I was saying, when I think we might talk about it a little bit around the role of gas in the energy ecosystem over the next several decades. So that's job number one. And then secondly is, as we look at the global ecosystem, is how that hub for us can feed into a global network of projects. So it's going to be both.
Great, that's good. And you did mention the role of gas in the energy transition specifically. And as you know, Egypt is hosting COP27
That's right.
this year. And we always say, well, since we're part of the problem, we should always try to be part of the solution too. And I think Egypt is very eager that the oil and gas industry shows what it can do for COP27. So how do you see COP27 an important factor for Egypt, and how does Baker Hughes also play a role with the whole climate change issue and the energy transition and natural gas and everything? The whole space. The whole world is just talking right now about climate change and COP27 and oil and gas industry. What's your perspective on that?
So I think if I step back a bit, I think the fascinating thing about the energy transition is demand for energy is going to be increasing. Countries are emerging, growing, developing. That demand sequence is growing over the next several decades. Within the energy mix of available sources of energy, obviously hydrocarbons today is the predominant. Renewables are growing at pace, and then you have nuclear and other areas. The realistic sense is, unless there's technology that's not yet commercial, which is unlikely in the near term, hydrocarbons will be in that ecosystem for several decades coming. The key for us as an industry, and for Egypt to be kind of pioneer of, if you like, is to make sure that we develop those hydrocarbons so that we can provide energy, effectively in the right cost point for the population with the least amount of emissions possible. Ideally, with zero emissions, but we have to be realistic on that journey as we go through it.
True.
Gas is a natural transition to that, as you think about going through from the relative carbon intensity. But then I think, the step going beyond that is how do we look at, the emissive profile of our operations and reduce that? Can we electrify more? Subsea, production facilities, LNG facilities, how do we electrify to reduce that profile of carbon intensity to bring the environment into focus? So I think, bringing it back to the COP, I think having COP27 here in Egypt will reinforce the necessity of hydrocarbons being in the energy mix, but allow us also to talk openly, candidly, transparently, and honestly about the journey that the industry must go on to clean, as far as possible, the hydrocarbons in partnership with the renewable growth, dealing with the intermittency that comes from that, as well as other forms of energy. So I think it really helps put Egypt on the world stage, but from a transition standpoint, right there holding COP27, the gas play coming through here we've been talking about being fundamental to that European region as well. I think it's a tremendous opportunity, so it's very exciting.
And I know Baker Hughes is going to be playing a very big role with that, especially with Egypt as a country and the government. You went to support the angle of COP27 as an energy company also. That you also, I think, you're going into the same process. I'm sure you have your own strategy for that too. So good luck.
Thank you very much.
And to more success stories all over the world, but specifically here in Egypt. We would always love to see everything you do. And as an Egyptian, we tell you thank you so much for what you've done for this country and how you've supported it in different angles. And looking forward to having another interview next year during your visit to Egypt Petroleum Show. I
promise you I'll be back. It
Definitely.
will be exciting. So thank you for the time today. It's been great to talk about Egypt, the emergence of Egypt, gas, which is super exciting, right? And as we see that whole economy develop, so.
It's very exciting times.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's always nice to see how politics and the transition and clean energy and discoveries, how everything is gonna, in the end up how it looks like. So it's good.
Yeah.
It's good to see. Thank you so much for your time. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Nice to
Thanks.
meet you too.
Thank you.
Thanks very